Welcome to the world of science fiction Neon's Alien. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a new story from Neon's Alien universe. The arena roared like thunder. On the desert planet of Xiron, thousands of alien spectators filled the stone stands, chanting one name again and again. Takara! 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 She stood in the center of the blood-stained arena floor. 8 feet tall, muscles like steel, glowing red tattoos covered her blue skin. She was no ordinary alien. She was the undefeated war champion of 7 systems. No warrior had lasted more than a minute against her. She raised her blade and shouted, "Bring me my next opponent. If he defeats me, he may do anything he wishes with me." The crowd laughed. It was tradition. A joke, because no one ever won. But then the next gate opened, and a human walked in. He was small compared to her, dirty boots, worn shirt, unarmed. His name was Ray Carter, a former soldier from Earth who had crash-landed days ago and been mistaken for a prisoner. Now he was thrown into the arena to die. The crowd went silent for a moment. Takara looked him up and down. "Is this a joke?" Ray didn't answer. His eyes scanned the ground, looking for something, anything, he could use. She laughed and pointed her blade at him. "You may try to run, I'll give you 10 steps. Ray moved, not away but forward, fast. The crowd gasped. He rolled under her first swing and grabbed a fallen shield from a dead fighter nearby. Takara swung again. He blocked with the shield, barely. Clang! The impact shook his bones, but he stayed, on his feet. Ray moved quickly. He wasn't stronger, but he was smarter. He used her size against her, dodging and weaving, striking only when he had a chance. Takara growled, swinging harder and faster. Sparks flew, dust rose. The crowd now stood, no longer laughing. 1 minute passed. 2. Then, Ray did the impossible. He slid under her final charge, rolled up her back, and with one motion, smashed the shield against the back of her neck. Takara stumbled, fell to one knee. The arena fell silent. She looked up at him, breathing heavy, stunned. Ray stood before her, panting, bruised, sweating, but still standing. "Do I win now?" he asked. Takara dropped her weapon. Then, in front of everyone, she lowered her head. "You have defeated me," she said. "I am yours. By ancient law, I now belong to you." Ray blinked. "Wait, what?" She placed her hand on her chest and spoke louder for all to hear. "This human is now my master. His command is my path. His word is my life." The arena exploded with shock. Ray looked around, stunned. "I didn't ask for this." Guards stepped forward, ready to take him away, but Takara stood quickly and raised her hand. "Touch him and I break your bones." The guards backed off. Ray stood still, confused, unsure what had just happened. Takara walked up to him, eyes glowing. "You may not understand, human, but by our ways this is sacred. You won me fairly. You now hold power over one of the most feared warriors in the galaxy." Ray frowned. "I didn't mean to own anyone." Takara smiled slightly. "Then, you are a better master than most." Alarms rang from the outer gates. Her clan leaders had arrived, and they were not happy. Takara looked at Ray and whispered, "You must run. They will kill you. And me too. For obeying you." Ray took a deep breath, "Then we run together." And so, with nothing but broken weapons and a blood-stained bond, a human and an alien warrior escaped into the desert, beginning a journey that would shake the galaxy. The desert wind howled like a living beast. Ray and Takara ran across the red sands beneath 2 burning suns. No ship, no gear. Just dust on their skin and the echo of sirens still ringing behind them. Takara's breath was steady, but her eyes kept scanning the horizon. "They won't stop," she said. "You shamed them. They will send hunters, assassins. Even my own blood will come." Ray stumbled, catching himself on a rock. "All this because I want to fight?" She looked back. "You didn't win a fight. You broke an ancient right. No off-worlder was ever meant to pass the trial of strength. You not only passed, it was witnessed by thousands. Now, by law, you own me. Ray sat down on a flat stone, wiping sweat from his forehead. I don't want to own you. Takara sat opposite him, silent for a moment. It doesn't matter what you want. The bond is written, and now, it is sealed. She raised her hand. From her palm, a thin line of glowing red ink began to rise, floating midair like smoke. It shaped into ancient alien symbols that hovered between them. Ray stared. What's that? The oath of obedience, my people's oldest law. If I break it, my mind will collapse. If you reject it, I will die by punishment code. Ray stood up, fists clenched. That's not freedom. That's slavery. Takara tilted her head slightly. Then why didn't you walk away when I fell? Ray didn't answer, because he didn't know. All he knew was something about her eyes had stopped him. She hadn't begged. She hadn't cried. She had knelt with pride, even in defeat. And it didn't feel like ownership, it felt like a bond. Takara stood. There is one way to change the nature of the bond. Ray looked up. How? You accept me as your warrior, not as property. You treat me as chosen, not claimed. Then I become your blade-bound. Blade-bound? Ray repeated. It means I protect you, not because I must, but because I choose to. Ray took a step forward. Fine, I accept that. She nodded slowly. The glowing symbols vanished. Then, she took a small blade from her belt and made a shallow cut on her palm. She offered the blade to him. Blood must meet blood, this is tradition. Ray hesitated, but then took the blade and copied her, pressing his cut against hers. A light burst between their hands, brief and bright. It was done. Now their bond was something new. Not law, not command, but honor. Suddenly a sound cut through the silence, a ship in the sky, a small scout. It circled once, then began descending nearby. Takara grabbed Ray's arm. That's a tracker, my cousin. He's come to kill you. Ray looked at her. Just me? If I defend you, I become an exile. No home, no family, no rank. He looked her dead in the eyes. You don't have to fight for me. Takara gave him a strange look. I don't have to anymore. That's why I will. As the scout ship landed, dust spinning into the air, Takara stepped in front of Ray and pulled her blade free. Her face was calm, focused. Ray whispered, You sure you can beat him? She didn't look back. I've waited my whole life to choose my own battle. The ship door opened. An alien in dark armor stepped out, twice the size of Ray, carrying a double axe. His voice was cold. Takara, you shame us. She replied calmly. Then I'll shame you further. And she charged. Ray watched as two titans clashed, one bound by blood and the other by duty. But only one of them had freedom in her heart. The campfire flickered under a purple sky. Ray sat on a stone, roasting a strange alien fruit that sizzled like meat. Across from him, Takara sat cross-legged, sharpening her blade with quiet focus. 3 days had passed since she defeated her cousin in that brutal desert duel. Ray still remembered the look in the man's eyes, fear but also respect. She could have killed him. Instead, she spared him. That shocked everyone, even herself. Ray threw a stick into the fire. You fought for years. Ever think about not fighting? Takara looked up slowly. And do what? Stitch clothes? Sing stories? No. I was born with a blade in my hand. It is all I know. He leaned forward. That's not true. Back there, when you spared him, that wasn't war, that was choice. She stared into the fire, her eyes reflecting orange flames. I didn't do it for mercy, she said. I did it because I didn't want to kill in front of you. Ray paused. His chest tightened. She continued. Something inside me stops me now. My body still reacts. My instincts scream. But then I think, what would he say if he saw this? Ray looked down at the fruit in his hands. That means the bond is changing you. She nodded once. I don't know if that's weakness or strength. Ray tossed her the fruit. Try it, you've earned it. Takara hesitated, then took a bite. Her face twitched. Too sweet. Ray laughed. Exactly. The next morning, Ray woke up with a blade inches from his throat. Takara stood over him, breathing hard. Sorry, she said, reflex, bad dream. Ray sat up, heart pounding. Well, that's one way to say good morning. She backed away, clearly shaken. That shouldn't have happened. The old training is still inside. They taught me to attack anything that moves during dream fog. Ray stood up and walked toward her, slowly. Then we unteach it, one day at a time. You would risk your life for that? He nodded. Because what you're becoming is worth it. Takara looked at him, really looked at him for the first time. Not as a master, not as a soldier, but as a man who saw value in her soul. That night, they started training. But not in combat. In control. Ray created simple challenges. Walking, calmly through a field of motion sensors, meditating beside wildlife, learning how to sleep without a weapon. It wasn't easy. More than once she broke things. She shouted. She even cried. Ray never judged. He only said, try again, and she did. Again and again. One evening, as they sat watching the stars, Takara said, I killed my first enemy when I was 6. They made us drink the blood afterward. They said it made us warriors. Ray clenched his jaw. That's not how warriors are made. Takara glanced sideways at him. How do humans make warriors? He took a deep breath. We fight because we have something to protect, not to prove we can destroy. We fight to defend what we love. She grew quiet. Then she whispered, do you think I could fight like that too? Not for command, but for love? Ray didn't answer right away. Then softly, I think that's exactly who you are now. But peace didn't last. One night while Ray was asleep, an encrypted signal flashed across Takara's old neural implant. A message from the high blood circle. You are corrupted. If you do not return for reconditioning, your brain will be wiped remotely. She stared at the screen, heart racing. Then she looked at Ray, sleeping peacefully, trusting her. I won't go back, she whispered. Let them come. She crushed the implant under her heel. Ray stirred. What was that? She sat beside him. Just breaking chains. The sky cracked open with lightning. Rain poured over the jungle, outpost where Ray and Takara had taken shelter. The wooden walls creaked with wind, and the fire inside their small cabin struggled to stay lit. Ray sat by the window, watching the trees sway. Takara stood behind him, silent, alert. You feel that? She said. Ray nodded. We're being watched. Takara walked to the center of the room and dropped her old battle armor on the floor. I kept this for memory, she said. But now I wear something else. Ray looked confused. What do you mean? She held up the metal band she had forged the night before. It was simple, clean. It bore no crest of war, just one word etched in human letters. Choice. This is my armor now, she said. And you are my reason. Ray swallowed hard. I don't know what I did to deserve that. Takara turned her head. You didn't try to own me. You gave me my name back. Before Ray could answer, the door exploded open. A tall alien in shadow armor stepped inside, eyes glowing red. Takara moved before Ray could react, slamming him to the floor and standing between him and the intruder. Stay behind me, she growled. The figure stepped closer. So it's true. The war child defends the human. Takara narrowed her eyes. I don't know you, but I know you. I am the last of your old pack. The others are gone, purged. I was sent to bring you home, or erase what's left. Ray stood up slowly. You're not taking her anywhere. The alien didn't even glance at him. You are nothing. Ray smiled. Funny. That's what she used to say too. Suddenly Takara struck first, She moved with speed Ray had never seen before. Her blade clashed with the enemy's axe, sparks flying. The storm outside howled louder as the two titans clashed in the room, wood splintering, walls shaking. Ray tried to help, grabbing a metal rod, but the enemy kicked it from his hands. Takara screamed, "Stay back! If he touches you, he'll trigger the death pulse." Ray froze. What? His weapon is coded. It's made to kill humans instantly. She took a hard hit to the ribs but kept fighting. Ray could only watch, helpless, as the one who had once been a weapon was now fighting to shield him. Finally, the enemy raised his axe for the final strike. Takara stepped in front of Ray, took the blow on her shoulder, and with a roar of pain drove her blade through the enemy's chest. The alien's eyes dimmed. He collapsed. Dead, blood mixed with rain on the floor. Ray ran to her as she fell to her knees. "Takara, you're bleeding." She shook her head. "It's not deep, just muscle, I've had worse." He helped her to sit. "You protected me." She looked at him through the pain. That's what shields do. Ray pressed a cloth to her wound. "You could have let me die. Why didn't you?" She closed her eyes. "Because you're not just my master anymore." He stared. She opened her eyes again. "You're my reason. The war made me a weapon, but you made me a person." A long silence filled the cabin. The storm softened outside and Ray whispered, "I'll never let them take you." She rested her head on his shoulder. "Then we fight, not for empires, not for law, but for each other." From that day on, the galaxy would hear of a new legend, not the killer who bowed to no one, but the warrior who chose to kneel, to protect a man who treated her like a soul, not a sword. The jungle air was heavy. Birds no longer sang. Wind no longer moved. Ray watched Takara sleep, her chest rising slowly, her wound wrapped in soft cloth. But something about her had changed since the fight. Her skin shimmered faintly in the dark, glowing lines pulsing softly beneath the surface like veins of living light. He reached for his datapad and scanned her, worried. Warning. Biostructure shifting. Human signal detected within core. Cells. Ray blinked. Wait, inside her? Suddenly, Takara's eyes opened. "You saw it, didn't you?" Ray hesitated. "What's happening to you?" She sat up slowly. "It's the bond." "I thought the bond was just a law, some ancient ritual." She shook her head. "It started as a law, but now, it's alive." Ray listened closely as she continued, her voice softer than he had ever heard it. "We were not born. We were made. My people's strongest warriors came from the blood vaults, places where DNA was twisted by machine and memory. I was a project. I wasn't supposed to feel, only fight." Ray felt a chill. "So, you're engineered?" She nodded. "But the scientists left one flaw. If a bonded warrior ever connected with a being who gave them true choice, our power would awaken." Ray stood up, shocked. "And I'm that being?" "Yes," she whispered. "Because you never forced me. You saw me as more than a weapon, and now, I'm changing." She looked at her hand as glowing cracks appeared along her arm. Beautiful, terrifying. "The more I feel, the stronger I become. But it's unstable. They'll come to tear it out of me before it completes." Ray clenched his fists. "They'll have to get through me." Takara smiled sadly. "Then we die together." "No," he said. "We live together." Later that night, they walked to a quiet cliff. Takara needed air and Ray needed answers. Stars shined above them. Ray asked, "If this change finishes, what happens?" Takara was quiet. "I will no longer belong to any bloodline, any system. I'll be the first free-blooded warrior, a being who can reshape battlefields and bend weapon systems with a thought." Ray raised an eyebrow. "That sounds powerful." She nodded. "It is. That's why they will never allow it." Ray looked at her, really looked. And what if I told you I'm not just trying to protect you anymore? She glanced at him. What if I said, I need you? Not as a bodyguard, not as a weapon, but as the only one who makes me feel human again. Takara stared at him, her glowing eyes soft. She whispered, Then I am already yours. Suddenly, a flare lit the sky, a signal beacon. Ray grabbed his binoculars. A fleet was coming. Silent black ships, no markings, no flags, just shadows. They found us, he said. Takara closed her eyes. They will come with paralyzer beams. They will aim for me. If they can't kill me, they will erase my memories. Ray turned to her. We can run, but she shook her head. No, if we keep running, they'll never stop. But if we make a stand, they might fear what I've become. Ray smiled. Then let them come. You don't understand, she said. I may lose control. My powers are growing faster now. If I bond deeper with you, I could destroy everything, including you. Ray stepped closer. Then bond with me, all the way. She looked shocked. Ray. He placed his hand on her chest, where the glowing lines pulsed like a second heart. You said I gave you choice. I'm giving you one now. Take this path. With me. Takara stared into his eyes, then she nodded, and the stars above them seemed to blink. As their bond deepened, their lights merged, and an ancient power once buried in blood finally woke. The sky was on fire. Flames rained down from low-orbit ships as black pods slammed into the jungle ground. Each one carried elite units from the old warblood clans, genetic hunters with one mission: capture the rogue weapon, kill the human. But inside a quiet ridge above the valley, they were already waiting. Ray stood beside Takara, who now looked like something out of legend. Her body shimmered with pulsing light beneath her skin, her eyes like living stars. The collar of obedience she once wore had melted into silver lines that ran down her neck and arms. No longer control, but power. Ray stared at the incoming army. You sure about this? Takara looked calm. You gave me my freedom. Now, I give you everything else. She pulled a cloth from her belt and tied it around his wrist, a symbol of the blade-bound pact. Only this time, it wasn't forced by law, it was given. By our tradition, she said, when the blade chooses its master by will, their bond becomes sacred. Even death must respect it. Ray smiled. Let's make death wait. As the first squad approached, they expected easy targets. But Takara moved like lightning. Her blade glowed white as it cut through the air, slicing energy rounds, redirecting rockets, disarming enemies without even touching them. The hunter shouted in confusion. She's unlocking a forgotten class. Pull back. Too late. With one command from Ray, just 3 words. End it now. Takara slammed her palms into the ground. The forest shook. Vines rose, charged by the energy inside her, wrapping around the attackers like living chains. Weapons dropped. Soldiers screamed. In under 3 minutes, the entire first wave was defeated. Ray stood in awe. You weren't made to be a killer. You were made to be a storm. Takara wiped blood from her blade. A storm doesn't choose where it's born, but it can choose where it strikes. Suddenly, a voice echoed across the battlefield. Loud, cruel, and familiar. Takara, daughter of war, come home, or watch your human suffer. Floating in the air was her father, the supreme warlord of the blood circle. Takara froze. Ray stepped forward. Is that him? She nodded. He's the one who named me, trained me, broke me. Ray whispered. And now you're going to break him. The warlord raised a massive blade of plasma. If you kneel now, I will spare the human. Takara turned to Ray. If I fight him, I may lose. Ray touched her arm. Then lose beside me. But don't you ever kneel again. She turned back and took a single step forward. Father, today I fight as someone new. I fight as a blade with a choice. And then she charged. Their battle split the air. Power crackled like thunder. Each strike lit the sky. Ray didn't watch in fear. He watched in faith. Every movement she made echoed the humanity she had found. At the final moment, her father struck her down with a hard blow, sending her crashing to the ground. The warlord raised his sword, roaring, "You are nothing without command." But before he could strike again, Ray stepped between them, unarmed, exposed. "You're wrong," Ray said. "She's more now than you ever let her be." The warlord hesitated, just a second. Takara rose, her energy fully awakened, and with one scream she drove her blade through his chest. He gasped. She whispered, "I choose me." And he fell. Later, the battlefield lay quiet. Takara stood beside Ray, her wounds glowing softly, already healing. Ray looked around. "What now?" She didn't speak. Instead, she knelt again. But this time not in defeat. Not in tradition. "I don't kneel to obey," she said. "I kneel to honor. To stand beside you, I must be grounded in something true." Ray gently lifted her chin. "Then stand, not as my blade, not as my protector, but as my equal." She stood, and behind them, the war banners of the old clans were set ablaze, a symbol that a new order had begun, not built on fear, but on freedom. The Grand Hall of the Blood Empire had never been silent, not until today. Dozens of alien warlords, nobles, and generals sat around the golden circle, watching the entrance. Above them, the burning banners of fallen houses flickered on floating screens. None spoke, because the one they feared most had returned. Takara, daughter of blood, breaker of law, now reborn, and beside her walked the one being no one understood. A human, Ray Carter. He wasn't armored, he wore no crown. But he carried something far more dangerous in this hall of fear, a truth no one could ignore. They walked slowly to the center of the circle. Takara's eyes scanned the room like she was holding a blade in her soul. Ray walked just behind. Her calm but alert, a voice echoed through the chamber, cold, booming. "You stand before the council accused of theft, treason, and corruption of a sacred weapon." It was the High Judge. He stared at Ray with disgust. "Release the blade, or Earth will be burned from the maps." Takara's voice cut in, sharp, as steel. "He did not corrupt me. He rescued me." The judge ignored her. "Blades do not speak unless commanded." Ray stepped forward. "She's not a blade anymore, she's a person. You lost the right to speak for her when you turned her into a machine." Another noble growled. "Then what is she now, human? A wife? A servant? A pet?" Ray smiled faintly. "None of those." He turned to Takara. His eyes didn't blink. "She is my equal, my friend, my freedom." The hall erupted in gasps. Ray continued, louder this time. "You made her to kneel, I made her stand." "She called you master," one general hissed. Ray nodded. "She did. And do you know what that meant to me?" He looked at all of them. "Not that I owned her, but that I earned her trust." The council began shouting. The word human became an insult in their mouths, until Takara raised her hand, and the entire hall fell silent. She stepped into the center, her body glowing softly from the power awakened inside her. "I was built to be a blade, a tool, a symbol of your control. But I have seen another way." She turned toward Ray, then back to the council. "He never forced me, never used me. Even when I was his bylaw, he treated me as a choice." Takara drew her sword. "You want to destroy Earth because one human broke your chain? Then listen now." She drove the blade into the ground. "I no longer fight for you. I fight for us, for the freedom to love, to think, to choose." The judge stood in rage. "Then you are no warrior of the Empire." She looked at Ray. He gave her a small nod, and then she said the words that changed the galaxy. "Then the Empire has no warriors left." She stepped beside Ray. "From this moment, I walk beside him, not behind." The guards moved in, but stopped, because something in their eyes had changed. They had seen her fight, seen her spare, seen her choose, and that broke something in their hearts. A slow chant began, from the lower ranks, from the younger soldiers. Let her speak. Let her stand. The council tried to yell, but the voices grew louder. Soon the whole chamber echoed with one phrase. Let her be free. Later, outside the council hall, Ray and Takara stood alone under a silver sky. She turned to him. You changed everything. Without a single weapon, Ray smiled. You were the weapon. I just gave you a new target. She took his hand. So what now? He looked up at the stars. We don't stop. There are more like you, still chained, still afraid. Takara nodded. Then let's go break them free. She once knelt to him by law, but the galaxy would remember her as the warrior who stood beside him by choice, and together, they shattered an empire.